Hey, this is sorry for looking the mess and looking in my pajamas, but this is the second attempt because I accidentally stopped the recording the first time at making a semi-response to Aaron K and a response to a video by Tab or the Amazing Believer that I just ran across by coincidence. Again, well, not again, but again for me, don't like this video simply because I'm responding to Tab. It's not a PWNAGE video, and like it because the argument's in the video, not because you think it's pwning Tab. For those of you who didn't know, I knew about Tab before responding to this video. I just didn't really watch his videos because I'm not subscribed and all that, so yeah. Start with Aaron K's comment. He starts off, with all due respect, please stop denying evolution. First of all, Tab doesn't deny it in the colloquial sense, or at least the first definition of the colloquial sense, as evolution in that sense means change over time, and even the craziest young Earth creationist wouldn't deny change over time. Second of all, evolution is not a concept, it's not a single idea. Or as Ernst Mayr put it, it's not Darwin's theory, it's Darwin's theories. Next he says, if you're going to reject it, don't make videos about it. The problem with that is people reject ideas and make videos about them all the time. First there's the atheists, as just an example. And please don't go off on a tangent for those atheists that are going to respond to that. Please don't go off on a tangent that atheism is a lack of belief. I don't want to get into that debate right now. But there's lots of people that reject stuff and still make videos about it. Then he goes on to say, Christianity has a bad name because fundamentalists reject evolution. I'm not going to justify it much in this video, but although that might be true, since Kevin Andy actually said no to young Earth creationism causing atheism. But again, although that might be true, even the liberal, Darwin-friendly Christians, or if you would call them Christians, some might call them Gnostics, don't appease atheists, at least new atheists. Again, I'm not going to justify that claim in this video, but since this is a response mainly to Tab, but let's move on to Tab for now. I'm just going to play this video and respond.
In a world of constant debate over the existence of God, we need to truly look at the evidence to see which argument, which side, has the better argument.
Yes, as Darwin said, quote, a fair result can only be attained by fully balancing the facts and arguments on both sides of each question in the introduction of The Origin of Species. Note that I haven't read all of The Origin of Species, but I don't think this has been done here like Darwin said in his Origin of Species, but let's see if it is.
Now, from my own personal study, I haven't seen much to support the evolutionary theory. The theory that there is no God, and that through variations and mutations...
Just to respond to his claim that evolution is the theory that there is no God, and no, it's not. This is actually not even better than worse than Aaron K's claim that you're denying evolution. Although there might be implications in the theory that say there is no God, or God does not play a part in the history of life or the origin, depending on whether you're talking about chemical or biological evolution. There's nothing in the theory that says there is no God.
Somehow, the life form, the very first life form,
and hence my point, chemical evolution, abiogenesis. But if you're talking about biological, then that's a different subject. And by the way, if you happen to see this, I'm not sure if I'm going to post this as a response, but if you happen to see this common descent while having difficulties in the scripture, it's not logically contradictory. Theism and common descent are not logically contradictory. Just to clear that up.
slowly evolved over generations and generations into everything.
I don't think you needed to add slowly, as evolution is supposed to be slow. I mean, isn't that kind of a tautology?
That is around today. I haven't seen much evidence for that.
Well, depends on whether you're talking about how it was implemented or the mechanism. If you're talking about how it was implemented, I suggest you look up evidence for common descent. You might also want to look into evidence for natural selection as an editor, or natural selection as a creative power, as Dawkins and Meyer say.
Now, let's be honest. Both creation and evolution require faith to believe in.
It depends on what you mean by faith. Although evolution can make some materialistic assumptions, again, common descent is not logically contradictory to theism. And yeah, so I'm kind of repeating myself by now, but you get the point.
There are a number of things on either argument that we weren't there to see, so we have to go by faith and say that it happened.
No, we don't go by faith, actually. We go by evidence. Well, it might require some assumption. It's not like we're just reflecting and making up of some philosophy. We're going by evidence, and sometimes that evidence may be wrong, which is why but the difference between religion, as you're putting it, and evolution or science is that evolution is making claims about the empirical world, which in a sense so does creationism, but in my opinion, while young Earth creation may be said to be science, since it also has made claims about the empirical world, which are aka falsifiable, I think they have been falsified to the highest degree necessary to say they're false. Now that doesn't say that the Bible is false, but I think even the Church Fathers, as said by David Funk, or Anglican Apologist 72, took an allegorical translation of the Scriptures, specifically Genesis.
Now, the biggest problem that I find with the atheistic evolutionary theory, two things.
Again, although some atheists use evolution as an argument, and it might make some, maybe it does make some materialistic assumptions about humans, it's not by definition atheistic, although there might be implications. I mean, every theory has implications.
It cannot account for the origin of the universe. Now,
neither chemical nor biological evolution is about the origin of the universe. Okay? I mean, have you read any books on science lately or something? Kind of confused. You're kind of... This video is kind of incoherent.
Neither can it account for the origin of life. So I'm going to look at both.
Just a note, I'm not going to debate him on the origin, or respond to him on the origin of life, because the doctrine of creation, which I subscribe to, does not specify any method, and therefore is unknown to me, and unknown to everyone, even if you don't subscribe to the doctrine of creation. But moving on.
Those today. First, we have the origin of the universe. Now, seeing as we have a universe here, there's a universe in existence. It had to start somewhere. Now, time, if it started, we wouldn't be at this point in time if time had never started. If time was infinite, we would never have gotten to this point.
Just to add something, I think earlier in this video he described evolution saying life evolves by random mutation and natural selection somehow. That's kind of incoherent in my opinion. And what's even more ironic is what he's going to say next.
Now, time, space, and matter are what's called a continuum. You can't have one without the other.
This is probably the only thing I think he got right. I'm not for sure because I'm not a physicist and I've only taken an astronomy 101 class. But I think he got it right. Maybe.
Therefore, if time had a beginning, then space and matter had to as well. Because if you have matter and space but no time, when do you put it? If you have matter and time but no space, where do you put it? If you have time and space but no matter, what do you put? You've got to have all three of them come into existence simultaneously in order for there to be anything in existence. Now, there are several theories out there that try to account for the origin of the universe. However, the way I see it is there's always, anytime there's a theory, there's always, whatever the theory is, always requires some kind of beginning itself. First you have the Big Bang. Now, if the Big Bang was the start of the universe, I want to know what caused the Big Bang. You can't have an explosion.
Well, that's controversial and mostly goes to philosophy. But this is basically like asking who designed the designer. I mean, logically it's not any different, and it's not a good way to invalidate an explanation at all, which I'll explain later in another video, possibly a response to abusive anti-theists, I guess debunking of the teleological argument, but moving on.
Happen out of nowhere without something causing it. Now, could God have possibly used the Big Bang to create the universe? He could have, but it's definitely not this idea that everything in the universe crunched together, started spinning, and then exploded, because we have plenty.
You know, I've heard a lot of scientists think that the Big Bang actually has theological implications, so why are you arguing against it? I've even heard it when it was first proposed, it was actually rejected as a supernatural theory rather than a scientific one, much like intelligent design is today. So, why exactly are you rejecting it?
planets that are spinning the opposite directions of each other. And based on the law of the conservation of angular momentum, the planets would all be spinning the same way if...
Just a little disclaimer here. I didn't actually hear this as a problem in my Astronomy 101 class. And although it's kind of ad hoc in my opinion, technically all of the problems, like the expansion problem and I forgot the two others that he named, but I can't remember them off the top of my head though, and I don't want to look them up right now. Technically they're all solved by the inflation hypothesis. And all this, those seem kind of Kuhnian and stuff like that. I don't really want to, again, I'm not a cosmologist, so I don't really want to debate on that yet. Also have to read the works of Stephen Hawking first, so.
Everything had crunched down and started spinning and then exploded. I think that's the way the Big Bang is described. One theory of it.
No, actually no theory of it is, because the Big Bang is an expansion, not explosion. Which is funny because you actually contradict yourself and say it's an expansion later. But whatever.
Is at least. But it's definitely not that Big Bang. There could have been, God could have spoke and the universe expanded out of nothing.
So you basically, earlier in the video, you basically said something can come out of nothing, but then you say God can create things ex nihilo, which is out of nothing. Yeah, I'm not going to even comment on that.
Could have been what happened. He could have simply spoke and it appeared in existence. But the point is, the Big Bang that I understand, that has been taught to me, is definitely not, it goes against scientific law, the conservation of angular momentum. Now, the second theory is...
By the way, scientific law... Not all scientific laws mean they're infallible. They're just patterns that we observe in nature, and some of them, like Newton's, well, I'll mention his later, but some of them have actually been refuted. But we still call them laws to stick to tradition. They're technically outdated, and some of them have been refuted, but again, we still call them laws.
But the universe came from some sort of dust cloud. I actually was on Facebook the other day, and one of my friends started her college classes.
Just as another note, I might define the law in annotation, but then I'd have to look at my astronomy notes from like the beginning of the semester, and I don't want to do that right now. But I might, and if I do, you'll see an annotation.
And she was in astronomy class, and she posted on her Facebook, it said, "My astronomy teacher told us that the universe came from a big dust cloud." Then she put, "My God is so much more powerful than that."
Technically she's wrong. I think she's describing the nebular hypothesis, which, hold on a sec, which is actually describing the origin of the solar system and was actually accepted in Dispensational Truth, God's Plan and Purpose for the Ages by Clarence Larkin in circa 1920. But other than me showing you a Christian who actually accepts it, let's just move on.
And I sat there and thought, you know what, I like that. I really like that. Because I posted in the comments, I said, did he happen to tell you where the dust cloud came from? Because the fact is that every one of these theories seems to be like all the creation myths. You know the creation myth that says that the earth was upon a turtle's back or whatever? We read that in junior year in literature. That theory doesn't have the creation of the universe. It already has a universe existing. That's how all the old creation myths are. They start with some kind of... They start with the universe already existing. One of the only
can somebody confirm or deny that, because I'm not too sure on that claim.
Creations accounts that you find that has the universe actually being created is the Bible's account. What's in here starts with nothing, and then in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. God creates everything. It doesn't start with a universe already existing. Now the question is, could the universe have been eternal? Something had to be eternal to put everything into motion. There just couldn't be anything here if there wasn't something.
Scientifically, it's very unlikely, and it's funny because the Big Bang actually makes the conclusion that the universe had a beginning, and again, this is incoherent, so whatever.
Eternal to bring it into motion. I believe that to be God. I believe God is outside of time, and that...
just to add, I think I forgot to add, philosophically there may be some person out there that thinks there's an uncaused universe, but scientifically it's very unlikely.
He brought time into existence while bringing space and matter into existence at the same time. In the Genesis story, we see that. In the beginning time, God created force, the heaven, space, and the earth, matter. So,
can anybody confirm or deny the meanings of these words? Because I'm not too familiar with the Hebrew. But I'm pretty even if his definitions are incorrect or correct or whatever, I mean, this is pretty unnecessary. I mean, I think even an atheist would realize that the scripture saying God created the heavens and the earth would say that God created the universe. I mean, it's kind of self-evident.
God created time, matter, and space with force right there in the beginning. There had to be some kind of force to bring it. Now, could the universe be eternal? Well, I'd have to say, even if it is, you need some kind of force to start it. If you just have an idle universe setting...
If a universe is eternal, you don't need a force to start it. Although you can ask, why do things exist at all? And resort to the second cosmological argument. But this is incoherent, again, and I'm repeating myself, so moving on.
There's never going to be anything happen. It's like if my... Let me try and think. Let's say that there's a car in your driveway. Now that car's... This is theoretical. Let's be theoretical here. Let's say that car has been sitting in your driveway for all eternity. Somehow that car ends up down the road at your neighbor's house. But no one ever got in the car, put the key in it, turned it, and started it, and drove it down to your neighbor's house. It doesn't make sense that that car would get down to your neighbor's house if no one ever drove it down there. Because if there was never any force applied to the car, it's never going to move from that spot. If the universe was eternal, there...
It's funny that he mentions Newton's laws, since they've technically been outdated and refuted. And he's trying to demonstrate the beginning of the universe with these laws, which are outdated and refuted, which technically he should be referring to like something more advanced like string theory or quantum mechanics, which was actually discovered by a Christian known as Max Planck. But he apparently doesn't know what he's talking about from the incoherence of this video, so yeah.
Had to be some kind of force to start the process of time, space, and matter. Otherwise, you just have an idle universe sitting there doing nothing. Now, after you figure out the origin of the universe, which I believe in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, I don't think atheists have really found any answer to it yet. They just say that we don't know.
Technically they don't. Stephen Hawking reportedly, I haven't read it yet, but reportedly said that his multiverse theory made God redundant or something, and of course the media blew it into Stephen Hawking has proved God does not exist. Of course I don't agree with Stephen Hawking, but he just said that atheists say that we don't know, well, I just gave you an atheist who says he does know. Or maybe thinks he knows, since physics is only describing what we observe and not actual reality. But again, you're probably not understanding that. Maybe I shouldn't be doing that, since Rod Serling suggested that you shouldn't assume your audience is less intelligent than you are, but I mean, this is just incoherent beyond degree.
But after you figure that out, you've got to move to how did life originate?
Just to remind you, in this long ramble, I'm not going to debate him on how life originated, so I guess you could listen, but if there's anything that comes up, I'll just refute it.
Now the question is, how does something get born without anything to produce it? You see, you get this universe explodes in a Big Bang, it expands out, the Earth eventually cools off, and somehow life forms on it with no life.
And by the way, the Earth cools off and life originates simultaneously. So, kind of sounds seditious, but whatever.
Ever being on it. Now, my theory of the Bible...
I'm not sure about his claim about life never being on it. The whole prebiotic soup has technically been refuted, like, now last year. I sent out a few links, but I can post them in the description or send them to anyone if they're interested.
Clears it up. It says that God made man in his own image. He created the fowls of the air.
Maybe I shouldn't put it that it's been refuted, but it's been close to debunked, which is also known as the Open-Haldane hypothesis.
The beasts of the field. And he did all of that. He brought it into existence. Now, my question is, for the atheist, if the universe started in a Big Bang, or however you believe it started, and everything expanded out, all these planets are everywhere, on Earth, the Earth finally cools down supposedly about 4.6 billion years ago. Now, life did not arise on the Earth.
Define life. Are you talking about plant life? Are you talking about bacteria, eukaryotes, prokaryotes? Define life here. And tell me what you're talking about.
Let's say, until 3 billion years ago.
Technically it was 3.8. Although, technically it was also plant life that originated first. And the life that originated 3.8 billion years ago was probably died out due to mass extinction, but and there was no protection from UV radiation, but hypothetically life was so simple that it didn't need protection, and it was plant life, so it was giving off oxygen known as O2. And there's also ozone, which is known as O3, which, of course, oxygen, when you add an extra thing to it, I don't know what it's called, it becomes an ozone. And then the ozone builds up, and then you get more life, specifically probably animal life. Some say that all the phyla, which is the highest form of taxonomy, I think, all or most phyla originated in the Cambrian explosion, but I'm not going to go any further than that.
So you've got 1.4 billion years of no life being on the Earth. There's no life whatsoever. But then suddenly there is life after 1.4 billion years on the Earth. I don't see how this can work. It's like...
You know, the Bible does say plant life came first, I think. Let me check. Hold on, sorry. Sorry. I think... sorry, water came first. And before that came atmosphere. Yeah, but anyway, it says plant life came before animal life. And so I don't know what you mean, why you're saying that. I don't know how life came to be when it says that right there in the Bible. Well, not technically how it came to be, but I mean, at least it gives you an idea if you actually read it. Yeah, so maybe that wasn't the best, but yeah, I mean, if you don't have any idea, if you're a creationist and don't have any idea how this could happen, at least look at your Bible, maybe. Or you could read a book.
If I took my dinner plate and sat down at the table with nothing on the plate, and I just sat there, looking at the plate, waiting for food to appear on it. Food's never going to appear on that plate unless I stick my hand in the corn bucket and...
Technically, spontaneous generation was debunked by Louis Pasteur, who is reportedly a Christian, though some call him a naturalist. So I don't know why you're trying to debunk a theory that's centuries old. I mean, they do use the term spontaneous generation today, but it doesn't have the same meaning as centuries ago. Okay?
Dip it out and put it on my tray. There's never going to be any food put on that plate unless someone puts the food on the plate. You see, I don't see how life could have emerged on this earth if there was 1.4 billion years of...
And saying, I don't know, therefore it couldn't happen, is an argument from ignorance and kind of personal incredulity.
Life not being here. So you can't have a world of no life and suddenly have life arise. That's unless you have a creator outside of time to say, let there be life. That makes sense then, but if you simply have no life whatsoever and all of a sudden life arises, you've got a problem. Now, at the end of the day, there are two options. There are two options as to how we could have gotten here. Number one, there was a God who created this...
Here I think he's creating a false dilemma. Let me check, though.
Universe. Now, if that's true, what do we do? Well, we better find out who he is and what he wants. Because he owns this place. He has the right to wreck it if he wants. He has the right to keep it going good if he wants.
Wouldn't him wrecking it be against his nature, thus a contradiction, thus he doesn't exist? Did you ever think of that?
And in the end, he's going to leave people accountable for their actions. Let's look at the second option. Nothing created the universe. Something, somehow...
Okay, first you say that atheists don't know, now you're saying they say that nothing created the universe? Seriously?
Now there was an eternal universe where nothing was going on, but suddenly something started going on. And everything evolved from the Earth cooled down about 4.6 billion years ago. Life somehow arose 3 billion years ago. That small life form split into two and started dividing until it finally formed a life form. That life form found somebody to marry, evolved from a...
Let's listen to that again, because I think I missed something.
The second option. Nothing created the universe.
Okay.
Somehow there was an eternal universe where nothing was going on, but...
So first, nothing created the universe, and then it's eternal. How is that exactly?
suddenly something started going on,
Okay.
and everything evolved from the Earth cooled down about 4.6 billion years ago. Life somehow arose 3 billion years ago.
Well, at least you can say somehow now. I mean, that implies you don't really know, right?
That small life form split into two and started dividing until it finally formed a life form. That
life form split into two until it finally formed a life form. How does it even make sense? And another thing, I think you're referring to asexual reproduction. You could just say that. I mean, if you're scientifically literate at all. Or you could say self-replication or something, you know, just to show you've read something.
life form found somebody to marry, had a kid, and it started the process of life, and somehow it got up through it.
By the way, animals and plants and everything except humans don't marry, technically. They may have sex for social reasons. Primates, bonobos specifically, certainly do, but I don't think they marry.
Evolving, it got all the way up to what we are now. And I just gotta say that if this theory is true, we're in big trouble, people. We're on a planet that's going 66,000 miles an hour through space, and no one is driving.
And that's the end of the video. Sorry if this response was a little incoherent and it's probably like half an hour long, but I hope you enjoyed it. Again, this is not PWNAGE. I'm probably not even going to bother posting a response, but there's a response. And I didn't get any sleep last night because I've been doing scripts for videos, including the response to Abusive Anti-Theist video. So, I don't know, I'm going to sleep. But anyway, peace.